Welcome to Gen 365 podcast. This is an initiative of Beyond the Veil Mission. And this is a podcast for the community to empower a generation of healing and hope 365 days of the year. Before we begin, I want to remind you the meaning of humanity or Ubuntu. I am because you are. I am because we are. Therefore, to create a safe and brave space for all of us, we must remember that my healing is as good as my community healing. This is a podcast for everyone who loves the community. If you are listening to this new episode, I want you to remember that we see you and you matter. Welcome. Hello, Bedette Ngabonziza. We are so happy to have you again at Gen 365. This is a podcast that empower and encourage a generation of hope. This is a podcast for the community. Yes, this podcast really, by Beyond the Veil, mainly supporting the Rwandan communities, Rwandans living in Canada, abroad, and also connecting with different cultures in ways that we can learn from them and they can learn from us. So I welcome again, Bedette. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Lydia, for having me again. I'm happy to be here.
Yes. I think last time we had a really great conversation. Always our audience, give us feedbacks what you want to hear from our podcast. And we'll be happy to bring in guests that can touch those areas that you want to understand and know better. So on our second episode with Bedette, last time the focus was more on, delivering mental health services. And today, we continue in the same area. However, we want to lay down some of the questions that our audiences, even ourselves, we might have, about mental illness medication. I think, there's so many questions out there. There's so many myths about mental, about sometimes I include French to our audience. So sorry, we it's so funny. That's, coming from a background, there's Kinyarwanda, there's French, there's a bit of Swahili, there's English. So yeah, we are so happy to have all that knowledge in us. So we want to lay down a few questions and have a discussion really. And the reason why we did that is because Bedette, as a licensed therapist and also a licensed psychopharmacologist, she has, some knowledge in here, and we want to hear from her wisdom because, we have questions. We have the questions from the community too. So tell us, Bedette, what exactly does a psychopharmacologist do?
So, very heavily in evaluation. Yeah. Evaluation involves, when it comes to mental health, is a conversation, interview, and having to really get to know the person, starting from childhood to the now, to the reason, to the, you get to really find out from them directly about the symptoms they are having, and if necessary, get collateral information from the person who made the referral. It could be the primary care provider, or it could be, a therapist who says, I've done the work here, but I think this person needs to see you, and you do your own evaluation. And if you have to, you could get with consent, collateral information. We are all looking for information for us to really get to know the person and what's going on, doing an assessment that might require to, collaborate with other providers in terms of what's going on with them physically, if they have any physical condition, and if this is an area not as in our expertise or an area where we are not licensed to practice in, we can have conversation with their provider, say, what does this mean? And then from there, you can do your own assessment by, just doing a series of testing medical testing. It could be, as basic as labs or checking what's going on, MRI, and then conversing with people in that area to really get a good assessment of what's going on. And then you have to understand the psychopharmacology. You have to understand, what's going on with medication that are out there. What do they do? What do they target? How are they best used? How are they best dosed? And all that. And then from there, if it's necessary, depending on, following the protocol or following, given your expertise and your ability, you write a prescription. Yes. But that's not something that is simple or should be simplified. It's something when you're definitely getting ready to introduce a medication, a medical treatment in that area. It's very important to know what you are giving to the person and what you are targeting and the conversation that needs to happen. What they research, we rely a lot on the research. What did the research do? And out of, let's say if this is, randomized trial, what does this, what happened? You have to read it yourself. You have to follow, the protocol. It also based on your own experience, in addition to something that many people might not think about a lot, to knowing that you are with a unique person.
Yes.
It is what the paper says, what the research says, but what you have in front of you in your office, what is going to happen? How is this going to affect them or to help them or to, so a psychopharmacologist really does that, among other things.
Yeah, I even like how you say, in treating someone, you have to recognize that this is a unique person. This is a unique case, right. Beyond the papers and all the information you have, every client, every individual that comes your way, it's a unique case. And I love that you said that, and I think we need this so our community can know that it's not like, going in a second and you go, although there are few cases that I've heard, which I'm going to ask you, but, a great treatment plan is what you're saying here. It's like, treating every case as a unique case, and also, recognizing, and valuing as well, what the book says and what are the better ways to help your client. And I'm going to ask you this question, Bedette. Can people get over a mental illness without medication?
Absolutely. It's possible. When answered in a very simplified way, yes, and yes, and yes. But also, there are cases during which medication is necessary.
Okay. So would you be able, for example, to give us an example on both sides? Maybe one example on each side for example, an example where you can get over a mental illness without medication. Because one thing that I heard or I learned is that, yes, you can get over that, but it's important that you build, no matter what, a treatment plan. Because when we talk about a treatment plan in the mental health field, it's not just medication. It can be other things that can help you to go through that mental illness crisis, without specifically being, medication. Maybe could you speak more to that a little?
Sure. I think I'm going to just speak on this, knowing that this is not necessarily something that can be generalized, because we can't limit this conversation to all that is, because this is a conversation that might take days, right? But on a much simplified way, someone might come in to seek treatment when they have trauma-related symptoms or when they have depression. And this is the first time this person is seeking treatment. The symptoms you are looking at, it could be poor sleep, it could be lack of energy, it could be, mood swings, it could be all kinds of symptoms that a person is having. And the first line of treatment is therapy.
Yes.
Right away, you refer them to therapy. And again, an evidence-based treatment that also effectively work on a brain, because what a medication does, it will go and trying to restore that disruption of hormones, lack of a better way of explaining this, that those neurotransmitters that have been disrupted needs to be adjusted. So the therapy, very well done therapy, will also do that restoration. Sometimes someone might benefit and heal and from, start the journey of healing, go back to their basics to be able to function and not with those symptoms, not interfering with them. People can do well without medication. A person might just do well with therapy only. Or a person might do well with prevention, self-care only, right? And then in certain cases, let's say a person, you might try therapy, but despite that, you're still not able to sleep. You're going days, 2 to 3 or 4 days without sleeping, or even, less than that, but something that is definitely affecting you. A person might have some what we call psychosis, right? Certain things where there is a break from reality in a way that is really interfering with their ability to function as who they are created to be. A person might have, in a severe case, symptoms of hurting themselves. And despite therapy that is going on, that might not get better, right? That's a moment to explore option in medication, because there are medications that can come and really target that disruption in neurotransmitters in the brain, that in a way that will restore it to come back, for the person to come back at their baseline. So I like that, you mentioned, because most of the time when we say, I ask this question specifically because most of the time when we highlight the importance of seeking treatment for mental illness or mental challenges, we don't just speak about medication only. However, as she's saying, there's some, crises that you might not be able to get out of them without medication. That can be psychosis episode, manic. Sometimes those episodes comes with symptoms that are so hard to get out without treatment. So it's medical treatment. And I like that. And we want our audience to know that a treatment plan can be medication. It can be, for example, if you're lacking sleeping, what are the things you're using, how you set up your room to sleep, avoiding, for example, using the phone maybe an hour before you go to sleep, not taking alcohol. There's so many things that can help you in the treatment plan. But as she's saying, if you have the privilege to meet or to have therapy or meet another mental health practitioner, please do so. And I want to encourage our community. Sometimes we say there's no help, I don't know what to do. I want to remind you that sometimes if you don't ask, you're not going to know what's out there. So it's important that we, as much as we're struggling, let's try to be like, let me ask someone. We never know. Sometimes, especially I'm thinking about like, the community here in Canada, even when you go to these community centers we have in every neighborhood, if you give a call, there are even like, different calls, for example, for the youth and young adults, like, kids helpline. There are different, even if when you go on Google, type in, there are always different options, and one help can lead you to another. Maybe you can receive one help here and they can find someone who can help you better. There's always, different options. Let us not be afraid to ask and see what can be there for us. Thank you so much. Let's move to another question. I need to ask, is every type of mental illness a chronic illness? So I ask this question specifically because when we talk about mental illness, there's always this stigma. Oh my God, if I get a diagnosis that I have either ADHD, that I have maybe clinical depression, that's like, a life sentence. That's like, it's not gonna go away. So if every type of mental illness a chronic illness? No. And the sooner it's addressed, the very likely it won't turn into a condition that might be looked at as chronic. Let's say if someone has type 2 diabetes and they address it right away. They adjust their food, their exercise. They really go and restore that ability for their body to regulate insulin. That will heal, right? And they will have to maintain that lifestyle. They will have to really be careful in terms of what they're doing every day to keep this condition of diabetes to turn into a chronic condition. This is the same way for mental illnesses. And also, let's appreciate the fact that there are some advances in treatment that, come up with medication or certain, sophisticated treatments such as ECT or other things. Someone might have a chronic condition, you might have like a tics or Tourette's, something that it's there that is interfering with your ability to function at your best. That might need to be regulated by a medication that you might stay on for the rest of your life. And then again, that's when you look at you say gratitude for the people who are able to use their mind, their brain, and come up with this level of treatment.
Yes.
When it comes to mental illness, just because you had a condition one time and doesn't mean it's again, like it's used a life sentence, right? You might just be cured from this or be healed from this. And let's just not, the number one thing is we need to fight the stigma around mental illness.
Yeah.
It's very, very important, because that's why, although we might have resources, although we might have this ability to do something about it, we are still somehow behind because of the stigma around the words used, around the term used, around and then we forget that same as other condition, it's pretty common. It's pretty accepted for someone to walk around with their inhaler, right? You might need to walk around with certain medication because you might have a certain phobia that will keep you from, for example, or a certain condition, let me not say phobia, certain condition that will keep you from flying. But that means you might just need to take a medication that one time you have to fly, and go do the best, go enjoy life, or do the best thing you could do for yourself. Just let's appreciate the fact that these treatments are available. And also, in terms of, not really every condition can be a chronic
illness, yes.
Same as any other medical conditions.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Should I?
Yes. Thank you so much, Bedette. These are great insights. And I've done some studies in the end of life care, grieving and all of that. And I'm telling you, more we understand, more we get comfortable with everything around death, more we recognize that this body, no matter what, is heading towards, the end, no matter what. Yes. Whether we like it or not, we are born, and the last step is the dying step. And more you really get to familiarize yourself with, the concept of death and everything around it, then you start, understanding that there's no much I can control of how this body, becomes and adapt with life and how this life shaped my body. So mental illness is no different than, other physical illness. We wake up, someone has cancer, or wake up, someone has diabetes. It can be even maybe a headache. Maybe you get wounded physically and you sick for 3 or 4 weeks. It does not mean that you're gonna be sick forever. Even people, let's clear this, even people who have a mental illness, it does not mean that they're sick Monday to Sunday. It just means that there are days where they don't feel better, and there are days where they feel like better. And of course, what she's saying is that earlier we address these issues, earlier we get the appropriate support. And I like that, if I pass few days thinking that it's not okay, and we can always, these signs and symptoms coming, feeling like, oh my God, I can manage compared to how I used to manage in the past, let us try to really be, let us address this, and we never know who can help. So I'm going to ask the next question. When is the medication the best solution in treating a mental illness? when is the medication the best solution?
The medication is best solution in conditions that are not responding to the first line of treatment, which is usually psychotherapy and also self-care, coping mechanism, increasing coping skills and support and other things, really decreasing stressor if it's possible. It's something you have control over. There's a lot of tools that are involved into someone's well-being when it comes to mental health, and when those are utilized and the person doesn't get better or doesn't heal, it might be necessary to use medication. I did use some examples earlier. If someone has psychotic symptoms that are really interfering with their ability to function or
Yes.
their ability to be their best or to really be in touch with what's going on in reality, that could be an issue. Or if someone is having severe depression that is really keeping them with very low energy, affecting their ability to eat or to move or to function, even their thoughts, and to the point they're bedridden, they can't get up, because depression can lead to that, and everything else has been tried. So there is medication, targeting those depression symptoms used when someone has a manic episode during which they are putting themselves at risk, themselves or others at risk. There are some mood stabilizers that could be used to help with that.
Yes.
If someone has severe trauma-related symptoms that are affecting their ability to function, they again putting themselves at risk, or to themselves or others, to themselves when they say there are some suicidal thoughts, and others when there is like anger and irritability and sometimes physical fights, and then in a way that really affecting them, even or lack of sleep, having nightmares that are distressful. There are medications that are targeting nightmares. So sometimes medication is necessary when first line of a treatment is not helping.
Okay.
And some medication are used as a needed basis on a rare occasion, and those are usually medication not meant to stay on for a while, just to stabilize a crisis. And eventually, if necessary, someone might need to be maintained on a medication for a certain period of time, sometime limited or sometime for a long time. As long as it's all about the perspective, how the person will see this, the same way if we are encouraged to take our vitamins, we do that. The same way when we are encouraged to eat our food, we do that. So yes, in those cases, medication might be necessary, and among others. I'm just using example. I did say earlier that I might just say some things that might have other explanation or this
thank
is just
you.
a quick
I think you explain it in a better way. When the first treatment plan is not working, that can be therapy, a natural coping mechanism, like, it can be meditation, yoga, eating well, you are eating well, you are sleeping well, you are doing all you can, but symptoms are not going anywhere. And you highlight, sometimes those symptoms can be putting ourselves in danger or people around us. So that time, sometimes we need, extra step of help. And one thing I want to remind you, when you get that step of help, in the medical treatment, you keep using other methods as well to help you alongside, to cope with everything. And it's okay. I really like how you explained everything in a good way. And I want to ask you, there's also this fear. These are questions, many people have, that mental illness medication, if you take them, they don't reduce the symptoms. Over the time, they can actually either increase the symptoms or, add other symptoms that you never experienced. I want to hear what you think about that, because there's this stigma or the fear many people have, some people are always like, how long does it take to get off, psychiatric medication? If I start this journey, am I gonna be able to get off this? I want you to touch base on that area.
That's definitely a good question for a lot of people. What I can say about that is medication work very well, just like any other thing that might be out there, such as going to see a therapist. It works best when utilized with other form of treatment or other form of wellness, like maintaining yourself in a way that you cannot say, all I need to do is just take a pill in the morning and everything
it's gonna
goes
fix
away.
the whole thing.
So when you might do everything you need to do, and despite that, you still have some, symptoms. I keep referring to, you have low energy. You don't want to get out of bed. You still have these symptoms. You can't sleep at all. You've tried everything, sleep hygiene. You did that, but despite that, it's not working. Then you will have to take a medication. And yes, most medication will have side effects. And usually you have this discussion of, this is what's happening. You are not able to sleep. If you take this medication a little closer to a little past midnight, that means you might, maybe that's not a good example of side effect. So let's say you might say to a person, okay, you're having depression symptom. This is what's going on, but this is a medication likely to increase your weight. So that means you have to be heavy on the diet. You have to be heavy on the exercise, or you have to be accepting that you might just have an increase that you are not able to avoid over 5 or 10 pounds. And the person will say to you, you know what, given what's going on, they're looking at the pros and cons, I'm going to check this route where I might gain some weight, but I'm no longer have these thoughts that are really interfering with my ability to take care of my children or to work or other things. Most medication out there will have a side effect.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think most also things that we do might have some form of side effect, but then the more natural things you're doing, the less side effect. I could exercise close to bedtime and not be able to sleep. Someone might see that as a side effect. So I will say that it works best when paired with other things, self-care, therapy if it's necessary. At certain point, a person might need a medication level, the dose increased. At some point, a person might need to combine more than one. At some point, a person might say, you know what, I think I'm heavy in it as the area of tools that are helping me. Let's talk about me getting off this medication. I needed it this time, but I have learned to utilize different things. Now let's talk about slowly tapering this medication. Or a person might find themselves in a situation where they just, with medication they're on is no longer helping, or it's not getting better. They might need to change the medication. Person might say, I think this side effect is too much. This weight gain is a little too extra. Can you find something that won't affect this area? It's a discussion that has to be an ongoing, and also to be open-minded, to be able to say, what are the pros and cons? What am I gaining out of this? What am I losing in terms of what the side effects could be? Yes, the side effects are there. Yes, over time, they might not work as effective. You might need your drug, your level of dosing adjusted, or you might need to change a different medication. And it depends on how you look at it. Are we looking at this as a way to appreciate all these advanced in medicine, or we're going to look at it as a way that is reminding us that something is completely wrong when we're doing something that is helping us, right? Again, thinking about medication is not a decision that should be lightly put. It should be when it's absolutely necessary. In other mode of treatment are not working.
This can be really a long discussion, and I think you are explaining it in a good way. All the medication have side effects, no matter what. Either it's helping this part, but there's something else it might affect, but then you put everything, in front of you, then you'd be like, you know what, if I can get better here, I think that's still valid. Maybe I will work on really working to control my weight. I'm going to give an example, for example, for women, when we try to use some contraceptives, sometimes they're like, this one you're using, you might gain weight. Yeah. And then you're like, I'm not ready to have 5 kids in 3 years. I'm going to take this and I'm going to work out every day just to really make sure that I can balance this because I'm aware that this might happen. So I think, every medication is...
You just used a very good example, highlighting what a stigma we still have around mental illness. Because what you're saying is valid. It's valid in our community. It's valid here, United States. It's valid in the people I work with. But I don't think people will look at it as, let's say you're taking a contraceptive.
Yes.
But eventually you realize that, you know what, I got pregnant on this. That means they weren't really working. It does happen. People get pregnant while taking this.
I got pregnant when I was.
See, I didn't even know.
I got pregnant.
Yeah. And what are you going to do? The next time you take one, you're not going to go back to that one you get pregnant on, right? You're going to try a different one.
Yeah. I'm telling you, when I had my third child, I took another alternative. I was serious because I was like, I want to make sure that this is never going to happen again. That's actually a good example.
Yeah. And it's the same when it comes to mental illness. It should be cool if you need to find something else. It should be cool if you need to stay on a contraceptive. I can't say that word for some reason.
Contraceptive. I'm telling you,
contraceptive for a very long.
I have to practice as well. Don't worry, this
contraceptive for a very long time.
Okay.
If you need to adjust it, because it's all about the stigma around mental illness. If it was diabetes or high blood pressure, medications are being adjusted all the time. Someone might need to take 3 high blood pressure medication in order for this to be effective, and it's not as stigmatized as when it comes to mental illness.
Bedette, I am not into prescribing medication, but for the last 4 years, I work in a patient support program, a company owned by a pharmaceutical company as well. One thing is that I work on every single day, nurses, doctors, pharmacists, and patients. And the first thing I talk to patients when we have new patients is, helping them understanding this is the treatment you're going to take and these are the side effects. And at the end of the day, however side effect you tell them of treatment, because that area is bothering them the most, they're always like, you know what, let me fix this. And then what happens is that, for example, I have almost, 400 to 500 patients. Once in a while, I hear call, I'm not feeling well. These are the symptoms. But it's not like every single day. It's like, maybe once in every few months. And if it doesn't work, we hear often, my doctor changed the medication. And we never question. We respect that because they're trying to find something that can help them. Yeah.
I like that.
You know what? It's I think we need more of this conversation because there's so much stigma when it comes to medication about mental illness. And you are so right. Other illnesses or we experience side effect and we never complain about it. We are trained to understand this is how it is. If I have diabetes or if I have a headache, I take Tylenol, does not work. I'm gonna take something else. And I'm okay with it. But when it comes to mental illness medication, then there is a huge stigma. If my doctor changes, that means my doctor is knowing the right thing to do for me. Then, I really thank you so much for really highlighting that.
And then let me emphasize, in case I didn't say it enough, that I'm so pro. Try everything else. Try all the coping, all the support system, all the strategies, all the, therapy you can use, all the self-care things you could do, and, increasing your coping mechanism. Try everything else before you consider a medication. Yes. And if you have to, try to do it the natural way as much as possible. Yes. But if you have to go the medication route, it's okay.
Don't have any shame
about it. You are able to give that a chance.
Yes, don't have any shame about it. And I really, really like that. And actually, even with all the conversation that I've had with many people, I think this is the most satisfying conversation I've ever had about mental illness medication. Thank you so much. And I'm gonna ask you another question. Yeah, I think you already responded to that, where sometimes, medication is not the best solution. So right. I think we're not going to go back there. I'm going to need to ask you the following question. Can people stabilize a mental illness simply with medication alone? Can you help the audience to understand? No. That's the same question. Help us to understand how a great treatment plan works for anyone in a mental illness crisis. So I chose this question specifically because when we talk about the treatment, people are just mind closed to just medication or therapy. If you can highlight and, I can contribute to that as well. How does a great treatment plan work with any client in a mental health challenge or crisis? How can that work? How does it look like?
Thank you. I'm glad you said that this is a question we're going to answer together. Mm-hmm. But I think the best treatment plan is the one that the patient, the person coming for treatment, take a lead in. Even when we do our treatment plan, we have the person sign this treatment plan. That's the best treatment plan, during which the person seeking for treatment take a lead in it.
Yes.
And that means there is an agreement. Mm-hmm. That means there is a plan. That means this is what needs to be done in order to target what's going on, to target, to fight against these symptoms, to eradicate them, to begin the process of healing. There is certain area touching on a support system, touching on what's to be done, touching on how often you need to go to therapy, touching on sleep, touching on self-care, touching on how you adjust the stress you are dealing with. There is a big portion there. Yes. So it's usually regimented in a way, how often for this period of time, and then I will evaluate again and see how I'm doing. Yes. In prescription could be written on taking a medication, but it's still going to be the person who is to take the medication or not. And also have an understanding. If usually something I usually like to say, but again, this is probably digressing a little bit from this question. People need to receive very good education. Know, the first 2 to 3 weeks, or so, if you're taking an antidepressant, you might be dealing with side effects more than what you're targeting. So what's going on. It requires for you to be consistent taking this. So it's the plan, it's the agreement you're making with your provider, but also the agreement for yourself, because again, the person taking a lead in it is the person seeking for treatment. So I need to highlight the fact that the best treatment plan is the person in treatment take a lead, ask questions. If things don't make any sense, challenge the person creating the treatment plan with you. Go do your own research if you have to, and then you put it at the table. You ask a lot of questions, and then it has to be individualized. It cannot be a copy-paste type of thing. It cannot be a situation where they're asking you to, I can't think of anything, to use ice when you don't have a fridge, right? It has to be something that it is individualized. And the best one is the one during which a person seeking for a treatment take a lead in.
Okay. I like that, at the end of the day, there's always willingness. And I like that the willingness comes from understanding of how whatever we're going through has affected us. And, yes. And you are so right, there's this person who said that I don't like how in the mental health treatment, they call people clients. And I'm like,
I don't like that. Even patients, I don't like it.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't like that. And I'm like, what is the better word we can use? Maybe
I think we can refer to people as by their names. And also, it's like you could read my mind. I know I don't like it. Even the word patient, I don't like it. Client, I don't like.
But at the same time, when we are generalizing, not a specific person, I tend to use more like, individuals. But, that's something maybe I hear many people not liking the term. Maybe soon they're going to be another words we can use to really address people.
Right.
Yeah, I think, to contribute to that, I can say, I think when you look at the treatment plan, there are different modalities in treating mental health challenges. And you said before, every case is unique. I think I'm going to just quickly give examples of how it can look like. First step is the conceptualization of the program, where, whoever that is helping a mental health practitioner will go ahead and try to understand, the issues presented by you, either in therapy, wherever you're receiving the help, and trying to understanding what's causing the problem. So trying to go, at the root of what's causing the problem. That step is called, conceptualization of the problem. The next step is coming up with a treatment plan, which is to understand which modality is going to help this person. What are we going to use? And again, as Bedette said, it's going to be unique because, we come with different challenges, different symptoms, different background, all of that, in the first step while we're conceptualizing the problem, we go into, individual issues, maybe how the family system is impacting how we're doing right now, maybe the community, people around us, ourselves. We go through that. Then the next we know what can be the best treatment plan. Then we're looking into a modality we can use to help you. So once we find that modality, it can be maybe cognitive behavior therapy. It can be maybe psychodynamic psychotherapy. It can be, it can be, different type of modalities we use in helping people in therapy. Then once we discover that, those modalities usually have different techniques and different referrals depending on which one we use. So that bring me to the last step, which are referrals. Referrals, what are we going to recommend to you that you can use that will help you? That's where either I can look at, ways we've been working together. If the first treatment of therapy is not working, do I need to refer you maybe to a psychiatric so they can help you better? It can even be, for example, for a couple, referrals can look like, go to a marriage retreat. It can be maybe attend a fitness club. It can be nutrition. If it's someone who's struggling with eating disorders, it can be like, what are the options we have in the community that support people in that area. So the treatment plan is not just, one straight line. And I'm highlighting this so that the audience can know that, better we address what we're going through, better someone who's helping us can help us to come up with the best treatment plan that can help us. And they can know if we can, those natural ways, that can help, or if we need, other people better than us, or not even better, because I think the healing work is a collective work. We come together, different fields to help someone to really get better and feel like themselves again. I think I'm asking Bedette if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think you stated very well, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. And no doubt, I'm learning as we're talking. I'm, learning a certain perspective, and sometimes I think when you hear things phrased differently, even sinking even better. So. Mm-hmm. Nothing to add.
Yes, I think the one question also is, what are the practical tools, especially cultural sensitive tools we can use in our community, especially starting from our Rwandan community, that we can use to address the stigma around mental illness medication in our community. I know we use many examples, starting from contraceptive methods, other medication, but then we think about the culture, because even the purpose of this podcast, we want to use terms that our people can understand. What are the tools that we can use to help our people understand that, there are days where medical treatment is going to be so helpful, but, what can we use in our cultural way to explain that to our community to help to reduce the stigma around mental illness medication stigma?
A very, very important question. And I think a question you are addressing as you are using this platform, this organization to really speak on this. And I think our community is very advanced in its ability to use social media. And I think some of the tools could be to really share this message and giving information through social media, having this conversation, creating space for people to ask questions, and creating space for people to share their testimony when it comes to their experience with medication. I think really the tool, one of a very, very powerful, effective tool will be use social media in a way to just normalize it, make it cool again. Let's know, let's find a way to just prevent and fight against the stigma about this. So I can't think of any other tool for now, but I would like to hear your take on this question as well.
Yeah, I think honestly, going to some of the cultural sensitive advice that we can provide to our community, I think it all goes back to what we said overall. Because, we have our traditions, we have our beliefs, we have all the hopes in our community, but there are ways where we are limited with everything that we know. And that is when the science might come in place. And we're going to have to appreciate that area as well. I keep telling people, especially coming from a religious background, when I go to a priest or a pastor or it can be a Muslim leader. If I am sick, they're going to pray for me, but send me right away to the hospital. They're not going to keep me there. They're going to send me there. So even if in the village where maybe we have our families, we have some technology, we have some learning here that when we see someone with a high fever, we know that we're not going to use only the natural remedy. We're going to see, can I go to the hospital now? Because I feel like, I'm limited now. And I feel like, if we are able to have that understanding, let's also, be okay to know, I see a family member myself. I think this is beyond what I've seen before. They have been down for a while. They can't even move anymore. They can't even care for themselves. Maybe they're even putting themselves in danger, and I'm worried. Then my helping is limited. Then a conversation can be, can we look into different support? And that can even be medication if it's available for us to help you. And I think more we do that, I'm going to tell you something I've been hurting me so much. We keep telling people, especially with mental illness, speak up, share. But I don't think our community or many people are ready to face someone in a mental illness crisis. Because when it happens, we shame them. Oh my goodness, look at how they talk. Look at how, oh my God, because a mental illness crisis is something else. I might show up not even able to take a shower or brush my teeth. I might maybe be talking things that are out of the norm today because of that crisis. So more we really shame people who are taking these medications, more we're gonna limit many people to seek help, and the result is more crisis now. And what do we do as a community? What do? We're just gonna speak about them on the side, and what else? I think, as a community, I'm going to leave you this question as an audience. Are you ready to really, even family members who are in a mental illness crisis, are you able to accept them? Because it's messy. It's painful there. Even when we think about addiction, they're so down, using drugs, not showering, so really down. It's messy there. So if we are not ready for that, it's going to prevent many people to seek help. And that's how the crisis become harder and harder and harder. I think I went deeper, but yeah, I think that's what I can say.
I think you just touched on something that is very, very important. The power a community has in terms of how they look at certain things, such as taking a medication. Mm-hmm. It should be something that, it should be celebrated as someone taking care of themselves. Mm-hmm. I'm going to use an example in terms of I'm an 80 baby. I know during that time, mm-hmm. HIV was looked at as a life sentence. And given, I used to actually do consultation in HIV clinic, during which I treated patients who might have some mental health related condition or just needed some therapy, because it could be pretty tough as well for someone with HIV. But it's all about how a community look at it. During in the 80s and 90s or so, this was looked at as a life sentence. This was looked at as, oh my God, you can't even be next to that person. Yes. Now with education, with advanced in medicine, it's now slowly we are, although there's still some stigma there, but I think we have come a long way where it's looked at, someone is taking care of themselves. They are taking their vitamins, right? Mm-hmm. If something as HIV, within a short period of time, because it hasn't always been there, same as mental illness. If we were able to go past that, because I can say with confidence that we are not where we used to be, how we looked at HIV. And
growing up, there was a sign of HIV in my community wherever I passed. And that was trauma. There was like signs everywhere. Or be careful. And I grew up thinking, oh my God, if I breathe, I catch HIV.
Right. Now, if you see it, to be like, oh, this is cool. This is another center during which people can go, to take their medication, to be evaluated, to check on their blood level, things like that. Mental illness can get there as well. So let's continue this conversation. And also start with one person being cool, be like, yeah, I need to go see my therapist. Oh yeah, actually I need to go to the pharmacy. Okay, we don't need to put our business out there. Nobody needs to, but again, if it's there, it's cool. It's someone taking care of themselves. How about you? You start with me. The way we change the world does not have to be on a very magnified level. It should be you speaking with a friend, or you have a partner who happened to say to you, I once struggled with depression. I seeked for treatment. Sometime, and then that's actually pretty cool. Same way as person tell you, I have to go to the gym 2 times a week in order to maintain my sanity. So let's make mental illness, mental health care, treatment, and also prevention. Let's make this cool again, because it is cool. There are medications out there to treat diabetes, to treat high blood pressure, to treat HIV, to treat asthma, to treat, let's put mental health on the list again. Because I think, honestly, I don't know what it is, but once you take care of your mental health, the rest of your being get touched in a positive way. How come something so powerful for us, there is this stigma around it? I just don't understand. Maybe that's another conversation.
What? I think it's we live in an open world right now, and everything is out there. And some people, when I see people shaming others, they speak more about themselves. And that's that's one part I agree with. Without a good self-awareness, it's easier to hurt other people. So there's so much information out there. And I think more we really understand and less shame people, more they're gonna be, able to seek help they need. But the thing is, because there's so much shame around it, even when these people need help, seek help, they're afraid to tell the right symptoms they have, then they receive the wrong treatment. So what we're doing as a community, we have to do better so these people can know I'm supported. Before I went to my doctor, my family was aware and they were behind me, supporting me. So when I go there, I'm not going to be ashamed to be like, it's been 5 days since I was able to sleep. Oh my goodness, it's been 5 days. I've been procrastinating. I've been maybe drinking much. I've been eating a lot. Something is happening. There's so much shame. If I say that I eat a lot, then, oh, fuck, then there's so many shame around it. So less we shame people, better people show up to mental health practitioners, and they have confidence to share every symptoms they're experiencing, and they're gonna receive the right treatment. Because I'm gonna tell you, even in therapy yourself, you're gonna see it can take days, weeks for people to truthfully be comfortable in sharing what they're going through. Why? It's beyond what they're experiencing and by the fear of everyone behind what they're thinking and all of that. Thank you so much, Bedette. And we're going to close this. I'm going to ask you, because our purpose is hope. We shared heavy information. They are really heavy. And I want you to shine some hope to our community. Really shine some hope. Is there any hope for especially individuals who are suffering from mental illness, trauma survivors, a community of survivors of different violences? Where is the hope? Thank you.
What I can share is usually when someone is going through something very difficult, the brain usually, especially I usually often refer to traumatic experiences as sometimes liars, because they leave you thinking or looking at certain, situation as just the end of it. And you feel like things won't get better. You feel like this is it. I would like to share that it's very possible for things to be better. Mm-hmm. And this is something that has been a passion for a lot of people who've done a lot of studies to try to understand the process of these conditions. We started talking about trauma, but even any other mental health related illness. There is this today, you might have a bad day today. You might be feeling a certain way for a period of time, but not pain is here to last forever. Things can get better. It will require for you to believe it's possible, because when you believe it's possible, that's when you will go get up and seek for some tools that could help you. It could be treatment. It could be just doing some self-care. The message I would like to leave anybody with today is what you're feeling today, what you have been through, the experience you've had that made you feel like this is it, there is no hope. It's a lie, because there is a better tomorrow. It might require some work, but it's possible, because one of the things that could be motivating is just to know that things can be better on the other side. I think that's what I have to say. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much. To our audience, we leave you with the homework. Go ahead, you can journal, you can write down a few words, what brings you hope. Think about, all the healthy ways that bring you hope. Maybe write it somewhere. Sometimes when something is inspiring me, I can put it, in front of me when I'm sitting in my office. So I can look at it and remind myself, and what brings you hope? There's hope tomorrow. What brings you hope? Write it down. I love Oprah said one time, you're going to have to believe in something to survive. So my friend here, you're going to have to believe in something to survive.
I like that.
And make sure it's a healthy thing. So, whatever your belief, if it's bringing you hope, honestly, practice that every day, no matter what, I think life, we are meant to survive and thrive. It's two things that work together in this life. Thank you so much time you give to our organization, so much time every time we got to you, always like, I'm here, girl, we appreciate a lot. I keep telling you, I cannot wait to see you coming here to Canada, and we have an open conversation with our community, because I think we need to steal you from US and bring you here in Canada. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having giving this conversation room. I think it's fantastic. Thank you. This is not only, I believe, helpful to our community, but helpful to any other community that also speak English, because I think this is fantastic. And I mean it to know what we still have a long way to go, but let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the progress we're making.
Absolutely.
So thank you for having me.
Thank you. That's it for the week. We hope you gathered your dose of resilience for the week ahead. Follow Gen 365 podcast to know when the next episode comes up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Google Podcasts. Share with your friends, community, and family, and do not also forget to follow and share feedback or questions on our community organization social media at Beyond the Veil Mission on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Or learn more about our work via our website at www.beyondtheveilmission.com. In the spirit of building resourceful, stronger communities, we can also help your community or business or organization to share your news and event on our podcast. Please email us for collaboration at podcastgen365@gmail.com. Thank you. Bye.